think different. Steve Jobs, who brought up this slogan.
Yeah.
So spirituality is about thinking different. See, when your intelligence is confused, that maybe matter can give you happiness, you're not considered to be a Sthithapragya. Once your intelligence is convinced that happiness is found internally, happiness can be found on the spiritual platform. That is Sthithapragya. So the essence of being a Sthithapragya is you have learned to experience happiness internally.
And that is what yoga is all about.
Sthithapragya has experienced a higher taste within. So even when such a person's senses are withdrawn, he is not kind of
Desperate for that sense.
not at all.
So if I'm a smoker, I've withdrawn from smoking. Am I doing it after a lot of effort? Or am I thinking of something else beyond smoking because of which I've forgotten about smoking?
Absolutely. See, the mind has three functions broadly: thinking, feeling, and willing. So thinking, if unchecked, escalates into feeling, and feeling, if unchecked, escalates into willing to grab it. Now, a lot of times people say thoughts are very difficult to control. But harder than thoughts are feelings. They're more difficult to control. So Krishna is telling, fight with all your might. But rather than fighting for your own selfish needs, fight for God, fight for society. I think we are discussing about this book called Predictably Rationally by Dan Ariely, isn't it?
Yes.
So he speaks about how human beings supposed to act rationally, but most of the time they end up behaving irrationally. Why is that? Because the mind is playing tricks with them.
Pranam Prabhuji.
Pranam.
How are you this morning?
I'm doing very good.
We are in this wonderful surroundings.
Yes, I am enthralled by coming to your place today.
A lot of greenery around. And since we had the first monsoon showers earlier this time, a lot of flowers all over. It gives us a wondrous environment really for our talk really.
Yes, it's a very spiritual atmosphere.
Absolutely. So, last time we were on 47 and 48, and like we saw, like you mentioned, we discussed about what yoga is about really, and we talked about work and no attachment to work. Do your work without expecting something and without getting attached to the outcomes. And by the way, don't not do any work, really. That was the key one,
Yes.
really. So as we move ahead now, we see Arjuna, looking forward to this, what we call transcendental consciousness. And he asks a lot of questions out of Krishna on what it is all about. Yeah, how does he get into that state? What is required to be in that state? So over to you, Prabhuji.
Yes. So, Krishna, he defines yoga in text number 48. And while explaining the principles of yoga, he speaks this particular verse. Yadate moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shruttavyasya shrutasya cha. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. See, basically, the point here is what he is alluding to is the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas. So the Vedas, it has got different sections.
Correct.
The section of Karma Kanda. And once the section of Karma Kanda is over, then the section of Yoga begins.
I see. And you mentioned some time back that close to about 3/4 of the Vedas are actually about the Karma Kandas and how to perform them really.
More than that.
More than that, maybe 85%. I think
Yes.
you'd mentioned an 85% number. Right?
Yes. So, Karma Kanda section, even though it involves a lot of rituals, so-called spiritual activities, but these activities are not actually spiritual in the sense that even if you're performing the activities in the Karma Kanda section, you're still looking for enjoyment within the material plane only.
I see.
And that's what Krishna is referring to here as the dense forest of delusion.
That's an interesting set of adjectives.
So as long as you're lost in this illusion that happiness is within the material plane, it's very difficult to progress on the path of transcendence. So he speaks verses along these lines here. And then Arjuna asks this question. Sthithapragyasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sitadhi kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. Oh Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak? And what is his language? How does he sit? And how does he walk?
So all the characteristics of a person in that type of consciousness, really.
Sthithapragya.
Sthithapragya.
Somebody whose intelligence, pragya, somebody whose intelligence is fixed on transcendence.
Stable.
Yes, stable.
Stability?
Stable.
Yeah.
See, when your intelligence is confused, that maybe matter can give you happiness, you're not considered to be a Sthithapragya.
I see.
Once your intelligence is convinced that happiness is found internally, happiness can be found on the spiritual platform. That is Sthithapragya. Arjuna wants to know here that
what are the characteristics of that kind of person? Yeah.
So there are different sections in this particular question here. First of all, the overall symptoms. Then ka bhasha. How does that person speak? And then how does that person sit? And how does such a person walk? Now, sitting, walking, speaking, they got inner meaning here. That we will discuss.
Okay.
But Krishna starts the answer by giving the overall symptoms of a person who is a Sthithapragya.
I see.
So he begins with the first verse, text number 55 here. O Partha, when a man or a person, when a person gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when such a person's mind thus purified finds satisfaction in the self alone, such a person is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. So the essence of being a Sthithapragya is you have learned to experience happiness internally.
And that is what yoga is all about.
That's what yoga is all about.
Association with the self, really.
Yes. Now, the next question of Arjuna, how does he speak? Now, we speak to respond, isn't it? We speak to respond. So, the inner meaning of this particular question is, how does a Sthithapragya respond to different situations and circumstances of life? Krishna answers that question here. He says, one who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or is elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. So such a person is not disturbed, either in misery or in happiness.
Both the extremes, really.
Both extremes. So it kind of carries forward from the definition of yoga as being samatvam yoga muchyate, being equipoised.
Equipoised, yes.
Yeah. And then, in the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he or she may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge.
And then, interestingly, whether I'm trying to find too much meaning out of it, the first set of questions were all mobility-related questions. Moves, talks, all of that. The second set of questions is to do with speech and related. Is there an underlying meaning in some of these, or it is just a sequence of queries which he's talking
It's a sequence of queries, and as I mentioned, they have an inner meaning here, right? Like, as I mentioned, that speaking is how such a person responds to the situation. So now, the question is, how does this person sit?
I see.
Sitting means when such a person is refraining his or her senses, what is the internal consciousness when the senses are restrained?
I see.
Is such a person, struggling to restrain the senses, or is such a person joyful even when the senses are restrained?
So is he putting in effort to do some of this, or it is happening naturally?
Naturally.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So here, very interesting analogy Krishna gives to make us understand this.
Okay.
He says, One who is able to withdraw the senses from sense objects,
Uh-huh.
as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness.
I see.
The example of the tortoise. So the tortoise, as soon as it sees some danger. Immediately it pulls back its limbs.
Yes.
And otherwise it is. So similarly, so the tortoise has complete control over its limbs. Whenever it wants, it can withdraw. Whenever it wants, it can let it free. So similarly, a person who is a Sthithapragya has complete control over the senses.
He's basically senses his arms. Here he's talking about, how does he sit really?
Yes.
So all his actions basically.
The internal senses. How are the internal senses responding? Now, as I said, when the person is sitting, that means when the senses are withdrawn, is he struggling to restrain it or he's doing it relatively easily? In the next verse, Krishna explains that though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remain. But ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, such a person is fixed in consciousness. Rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Sthithapragya has experienced a higher taste within. So even when such a person's senses are withdrawn, he is not kind of
desperate for that sense.
Not at all.
So if I'm a smoker, I've withdrawn from smoking. Am I doing it after a lot of effort, or am I thinking of something else beyond smoking because of which I've forgotten about smoking?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have found the perfect analogy to explain that here. So similarly, that's a point that is being made here, that yoga is about developing a higher taste. Yoga is not simply about
withdrawing from an existing sense, really.
Artificially. It's not something artificial. It has to come out naturally, right? In due course of time, accomplished yogi is able to experience that higher taste within, and that's how such a person is able to restrain from external senses.
I see.
And how does that happen? Krishna is explaining. So, in the next verse, Krishna explains in the text number 61, Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asita matpara vashe yasindrayani tasya pragya pratishtita. So, Krishna is giving a glimpse of how such a person is able to experience a higher taste from within. One who restrains the senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes the consciousness upon me.
I see.
Krishna is telling here.
I see.
Such a man, such a person is of steady intelligence. Is a Sthithapragya. So, in order to experience that higher taste from within,
I would focus on Krishna.
You have to first focus on God. You have to focus on Shri Krishna. So, Krishna makes it very clear in this particular verse. Suppose you don't have a positive alternative to focus your consciousness, to focus your mind, then what will be the consequence? Krishna will explain in a string of verses, 62 and 63 here. In 62 he explains, very interesting group of verses. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodho bijayate. So Krishna is telling that when your mind is not focused on spirituality, when your mind is not focused on God, when it's not focused on Krishna, when it is focusing on material things. See, the word dhyan is meditation, thinking. So when you're contemplating on material things, Vishaya is material. Dhyayato vishayan pumsan sangasteshu pajayate. Sangha is, you become attached to that. If you contemplate on material things, you become attached to material things.
Only, yeah.
See, dhyan is thinking. See, the mind has three functions broadly. Three are thinking, feeling, and willing. Now, Krishna is saying, if you're thinking about material things, then you start developing feelings for those material things. Thinking will escalate into feeling. Dhyayato vishayan pumsa sangasteshu pajayate. Sangat sanjayate kama.
Attachment.
So that attachment, that feeling for those material things will escalate into kama. Kama means a strong desire, or desire so strong that you're willing to act upon it.
I see.
You're willing to act upon it, to acquire it.
I see.
So thinking, if unchecked, escalates into feeling. And feeling, if unchecked, escalates into willing.
Yeah, willing to grab.
Willing to grab it. It's an escalation. Now, a lot of times people say thoughts are very difficult to control.
Yeah.
But harder than thoughts are feelings. They're more difficult to control. See, when thoughts escalate into feelings, it becomes harder to control.
So you've climbed one ladder already.
Yes.
So it becomes more difficult for you to get your thoughts out, really.
And once feelings escalate into willing, it's like a done job. It's practically impossible to climb down.
Yes, get back to the different material.
So the advice here is nip thoughts in the bud.
At the initial stage itself.
So it's hard to control thinking, but it's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
So that is why in the scriptures there is a emphasis on dhyan. So that is why in sadhana, in daily spiritual practices, there is this element of dhyan.
Correct.
You practice focusing the mind on spirituality.
Correct.
Because the rest of the day, sometimes you have to contemplate on material things. But slowly but surely, your thinking has to be more and more focused on spirituality. And that's when you'll have positive feelings.
Correct.
And your actions will also follow in due course of time. So it all begins with the thoughts.
Thinking. So if I'm trying to do dhyan or meditation, if my thinking, that is at the first crossroad itself, if I move into the materialistic direction, the next few directions are ordained already.
Yes.
There is no coming back.
No coming back.
So nip it in the beginning itself and move instead of the materialism direction into the spiritualism direction. Yeah.
So, Sangha Sanjayate Kama, willing, correct? And then very interesting, Kamat Krodho Bijayate.
If I don't get it, I get angry.
You get angry. Either it could be anger on others or it could be frustration. Frustration is internal anger.
Correct.
So, Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha. Sammoha is perfect illusion. See, when you are overcome by anger, you lose touch with reality. That's what Krishna is telling here. Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha, Sammohat Smriti Vibhrama. You lose memory.
I see.
See, memory is, everybody knows getting angry is wrong. It leads to bad consequences. But all your good sense is lost under the grip of anger.
Actually, the power of reasoning gets diluted when you're angry, because you're very focused on achieving a certain materialistic outcome.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Absolutely. So, Sammohat Smriti Vibhrama, Smriti Bhramshat Buddhinasho, Buddhinashat Pranashati, as you rightly mentioned. Your rationality is lost. Memory is lost, your rationality is lost. So, this is the sequence that Krishna is saying, that if you don't focus on spirituality, this will be the consequences.
This path is a very difficult and dangerous path. Ultimately leading to loss of rationality.
Yes. You behave irrationally. I think we are discussing about this book called Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely, isn't it?
Yes.
So he speaks about how human beings, even though they're irrational, they're supposed to act rationally, but most of the time they end up behaving irrationally. Why is that? Because the mind is playing tricks with them. You have given, you have just left the mind scot-free.
Yeah.
So the mind is thinking whatever it wants to think. It's not streamlined.
Yeah.
And then it is feeling whatever it wants to feel. And then it is willing whatever it wants to do. Correct. And so rationality is lost.
Correct. The mind is not taking the road, it's taking the wrong road at that point of time. Really. Yes.
See, sometimes, people give me phone calls. And I get calls from an unknown number. And then the person says that I used to attend my class at one point of time. And then I lost touch. And people generally remember when they're going through a lot of negativity. So they say, I'm in so much of darkness, I don't know how to get out of it, please tell me a way out of it. Now this is very interesting. See, a lot of times when we are going through a rough patch in life, what happens is, it's generally because we are thinking in a very negative way. So when you think in a very negative way, what happens is, you become negative. And it becomes overwhelming. The negativity becomes overwhelming. So it begins with thinking negative. And oftentimes people, when they start thinking in a negative direction, they try to think their way out of it. Understanding? It's like, for example, I'm giving a rough example here. That suppose I'm returning from your bungalow in Alibag back to Bombay. Suppose I had a road accident on the way. And then what if I lose my limbs? And then what will happen? What will happen? I'm lost in negativity like that.
Correct.
And oftentimes, when we find ourselves lost in negativity, we use our rationality to argue against it. How is it possible? We start rationalizing in the sense that the roads are very smooth, accident won't happen.
I see.
So we try to argue against our own mind.
To come out of that negativity.
To come out of that negativity.
Yes, yes.
So even though we are trying our best to come out of that negativity by arguing against it, in due course of time, you will see that you are back into that negativity. You're back into that cycle. So what is happening effectively is, even though you're trying to rationalize your way out of it, you end up contemplating on the same thing. See.
The negative thing continues really. Yeah.
So, in the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in one place, the question is raised. What is the best way of controlling the mind? And the answer is very simple. Neglect. Just neglect the mind and you'll be able to control it. So, coming back to this example.
Don't fuel it at all.
So, you're having some negative thoughts in your mind. Rather than trying to rationalize your way out of it, forget about it.
Yeah.
Think something else. Think something positive.
Think a higher order or think something different.
Best thing is think spiritual. Correct? So, if you're still lost in that loop, it's practically impossible to get out of it.
Correct.
Stop trying to find your way out of it through rationality.
Because you'll get more and more entangled in it. If
you'll get more entangled.
Try to think out of it rationally. So
you neglect those thoughts.
I think neglect is the appropriate word, really.
Neglect. But
that's not easy, isn't it?
So that's why.
But that's why that solution is good. So think of me,
Yes. You got something positive, concrete to focus your mind upon. And see, you know what? When you're lost in negativity in life, all of a sudden it's very difficult. So it's always recommended in the Shastras that you practice dhyan on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So when you're doing it on a regular basis, when such a situation comes in your life,
it's easier for you to get into the positivity. Yes, good one.
It's a very beautiful verses. Now, Krishna has explained the answer to 2 questions. How does such a person speak? How does such a person sit?
Yes.
Now, the answer to how does such a person walk? Walking means when such a person uses the senses, how does that person use the senses? How does he deal with the senses? How does he or she deal with the senses? As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a person's intelligence. So such a person is conscious of the dangers of the senses. So he's always mindful of how the senses are engaged. Therefore, O mighty armed, one whose senses are restrained from their objects is certainly of steady intelligence. So how does that person walk? Such a person uses the senses in spirituality rather than uselessly meddling it in material affairs. So here is a very interesting verse. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. So naturally, one who is progressive on the path of spirituality will have different priorities in life, which may not match with worldly priorities. So Krishna is preparing us that, see, it's in the vogue, right? Think different. I think it was Steve Jobs who brought up this slogan,
Yeah.
think different. So spirituality is about thinking different. Don't be shy to swim against the current. So that's what Krishna is
And
saying.
why is he using the analogy of night and day then? That means when it is night for materialistic people, it is daytime for a spiritually enlightened person. Why that analogy? Any relevance of that analogy?
Because it's a very stark difference.
I see.
Night and day.
Sharp opposing differences.
Sharp opposing differences, isn't it? See, it kind of, it's a very apt analogy to explain the stark difference between material consciousness and spiritual consciousness.
I see.
See, material consciousness means what?
So it's black and white.
It's black and white actually.
Correct, yeah.
See, material consciousness is looking externally for happiness. Spiritual consciousness is you're looking internally for happiness.
Got it.
So it's worlds apart. So Krishna, he uses this particular analogy to bring about that difference here.
I see.
Right? And then he speaks this verse. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires, they enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled, but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the person who strives to satisfy such desires. A very beautiful analogy here. Apuryamanam achalapratishtam. An ocean is achalapratishtam. It is always steady. Why is it steady? In the sense, if there is a lot of rain here in Alibag, do you start fearing that maybe the ocean water will rise and your bungalow will get submerged?
No.
It is never going to happen.
No.
The ocean level remains the same. So many rivers, water from so many other sources keep entering to the ocean, but the ocean water level remains the same. Why is that so? Krishna is explaining here. Apuryamanam. The ocean is full in itself.
I see.
When it is full in itself, even when there is a lot of water coming, it is steady. It's unchanging. Samudram apa pravishanti advat. Samudram, ocean. Tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve. Sashantyam apnoti na kamakami. So similarly, a person who remains steady, even though so many desires keep coming to you, such a person can attain peace, and not the person who runs after these desires.
I see.
Now, this might seem, what is this going on? Is it backward thinking, you might think? And how will we progress if you don't go after desires?
Yes.
If you don't have desires.
If you're not ambitious.
If you're not ambitious.
Yeah. How will progress happen?
How will progress happen?
Evolution happen. Actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, this is a question that might haunt us when we hear this particular verse, when Krishna is telling that peace you can obtain by saying no to desires rather than running behind them. Now, this is common sense knowledge, you see. See, I often, when I conduct small scale classes, etc., I ask these questions to people. I ask them, what are your needs? You know what is need? Need is something which is basicness, which you require basic necessary to feel normal.
Yeah.
Without which you cannot do at all.
Correct.
And as against that, as against needs, we have got wants. Wants are those things which we can live without, which come under the bracket of luxury, you can say.
Correct.
So if I ask you, what are your needs? What will you say?
But different people will have different needs also, depending on what you've been used to. Yeah, someone may say, hey, food and housing is a basic need.
Yes.
For someone else, maybe a car is also part of the need. It is not necessarily part of the want, really. Yes. Yeah, but an aeroplane for me may be a want. It may not be a need. So I guess for someone like me, the wants may be different from someone else, really.
Yes. It's a purely subjective thing.
It is relatively. But there will be some basic needs.
Needs everybody has.
Yes.
So for each person, wants will be different, needs will be different. Now if I ask you one question, the internet, is it a want or is it a need for you? What is it?
Yeah. Maybe 10 years back it was a want. Today it is a need.
Absolutely.
Correct.
So this is the point I'm trying to make here. that the wants of yesterday becomes the needs of today.
Because I continued wanting it, or because the marketplace or the environment has changed?
See, once you run behind your wants, you get used to it. You get used to that standard of luxury. And your life
Your
revolves.
expectancy moves up. Really.
Yes. And then it becomes a need in due course of time.
Correct.
See, I'll ask you another question here. See, one principle here is the wants of today will become the needs
of tomorrow.
So the point here is, the more you run behind wants, the more you are going to lengthy the list of needs.
Correct.
If you're busy running after your wants, maybe 10 years from now, your list of needs will be very lengthy. Is it good or is it bad? For happiness. So ultimately, you're all looking for happiness.
Correct.
Now, one person doesn't have too many needs in life. And then there is another person who has got so many needs in life. What are the chances that the first person will be happy? What are the chances that the second person will be happy?
Higher. Yeah.
The person with less needs,
yes.
will be
hopefully happier, I guess.
Will be more happier, relatively speaking. Yes. Suppose somebody says that if I have to go on a vacation to any place, my minimum needs that is required is I need to go by jet to that place.
Correct.
And I need to stay there at a 7-star hotel. And I need a chauffeur-driven Rolls Royce.
That then the need has become a greed, actually.
There are people who have such needs. And as against that, there is another person who says that, if I get to go to some place, that's all my need is.
Correct.
So, what are the chances that person A will be happy even after going to that place? And what are the chances that the person B will be happy even after going to that place? Now, if the person A goes to that place, even if he goes there by a jet plane, and even if one of these needs are not met,
correct, he will find faults.
He will be miserable.
Miserable, yes.
Such a person will be miserable. Needs, by definition, are those things. Without it, will be miserable and will feel out of sorts. So, the more needs we have in life, the more the noose is tightening around our own neck. So, the more the human society collectively and more we as individuals run behind wants, the more the list of needs will increase and the more we are going to suffocate our own life. I'll give you another very simple example. Any person in the corporate world, such a person is wanting to become the CEO.
Correct.
And works very hard and reaches the level of CEO. And once you become the CEO, remaining the CEO becomes a need.
Correct. Yeah.
Once you are the CEO, can you take another role which is COO?
No.
Or CFO, any CXO? Not
Correct.
possible.
Yeah.
Now you're stuck there. And then what happens is to remain.
Want has become the need.
It has become a need. And in order to maintain that need, you have to compromise on your more basic needs now. So a CEO of a lot of companies, just to maintain their position, they end up compromising with their more basic needs of proper intake of food, which is a very primary need. Or the need for good relationships in life. Such people don't find time for family, for relationships, because the fancy need has taken over your time. Because at the end of the day, the amount of time and resources all of us have is limited.
Correct.
Just because your needs have increased doesn't mean the time will increase.
Yeah.
So what happens in due course of time is you might be running after maintaining a fancy need, but you end up making your own life miserable. So that is why this is a very logical thing that is.
But let's look at a converse, really. Does it mean that I should not desire to become the CEO?
It's a very brilliant question that you have asked here. It's a very pertinent question. So the point here is, it's not about not working hard. We need to work hard towards the goal. But are you wanting to be the CEO for the prestige, for the money, which is all selfish? Or are you wanting to be the CEO for the service of society?
Correct.
So rather than becoming want-driven, we become purpose-driven. See, and
then you become attached to it. I think the key one back again, from the previous months, really is attached too much to that want for it to become a need.
Yeah. See, this is
And attachment comes because it helps me, not because it helps someone else. Really.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, the center is ourselves. So there's attachment, correct? So when you're purpose driven, you're detached. In the sense that you're more focused upon the purpose than your own selfish attachments in that particular place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is why Krishna, so the question that you asked, it's the same question Arjuna also asked in the beginning of the next chapter actually. So Arjuna, he's wondering, on the one hand, Krishna is telling, don't run behind wants.
Yeah.
And he's telling me to fight now.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm not fighting to, get a kingdom, then what am I fighting for?
Yeah.
Rather give up fighting and go to the forest. So Krishna is telling, fight with all your might. But rather than fighting for your own selfish needs,
have a purpose. You're fighting for a purpose.
Fight for me, fight for God, fight for society.
Correct.
With a purpose-driven attitude, when you work in this world, you won't be lazy. See, this is very important. Karma Yoga is not about laziness at all. You work, but the goal of your work has changed.
Correct.
Rather than selfish, it becomes selfless. So what Krishna is telling here is, it makes no sense to run behind selfish wants.
Yeah, I think that selfish as an adjective is very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Once your needs are satisfied, the excess energy you have should be utilized for the service of society, for the service of God.
Correct.
And then it will find its fulfillment.
Yeah.
So we'll discuss. So the next chapter will begin with Arjuna's question.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji. See you.
In this episode number 7, we defined the initial principles of yoga. Who is an equipoised person and what is the underlying meaning of how such a person speaks, how he sits and how he walks. We understood that if we contemplate only on material things, then we'll continue to be attached to material things. We also discussed that our thinking, if not controlled, results in our developing feeling, which if unchecked results in our willing to act or acquire those material things. We have to practice of nipping it in the bud at the stage of thinking itself. We also realized that our wants of yesterday, if not controlled, progressively become needs of today. We need to control anger. Anger tends to make us lose touch with reality, lose our memory, and we generally lose our good sense of reasoning. Remember, whenever you think in a negative way, it sort of builds on you and you tend to become overwhelmed by negativity. Hence, think of something else. In fact, think of spirituality. Finally, fight with all your might, not for your selfish needs, but for the benefit to society. Friends, that brings us to the end of chapter 2.